The defeated Silver Mountain Orcs fall back into the citadel of Stormpeak Hold. A frontal attack across the narrow stone causeway within the mountain would be suicidal. Attacking the sheer cliffs that surround the fortress outside the mountain would be equally futile. However, these defenses also serve to trap the defenders, so Baridoc resolves to starve the orcs out. A week passes. The dwarves clear out the remaining orcs within the Undercity, overwhelming those few left in the forges, and negotiations with the orc prince Vorgak begin. Before they can be resolved, word reaches Baridoc of the dead assaulting supply caravans from Goldenfields. They gather at the base of the mountain before Deepstone Delve. Leaving half his forces to watch the orcs, Baridoc leads a force down the switchback path to deal with this meddlesome necromancer. Unknown to the dwarves, these attacks have been orchestrated by Kalana Heartwale, the elf sorceress. She and her remaining forces hide in the woods at the base of the mountain, awaiting the arrival of the dwarves, whereupon they will strike and expunge the failure of their last encounter. For the forces of the dwarves coming down the causeway, we are of course led by Baridoc Kingston, carrying the Sword of Star Silver. He's accompanied by the Hammerheart Oathsworn, 14 dwarf soldiers. Organ Shieldsplitter, the dwarf champion, will be leading the Wrath of Stormpeak, 19 dwarf linebreakers. We have 10 dwarf archers in the Stouthearts, 20 human soldiers, the Goldenfield Swords, 10 human archers, the Goldenfield Bowmen, and of course the dwarf light catapult Hellier. Drawing the dwarves out, we have the level 2 necromancer, Moxus the Reanimator. He has Reanimate and Poison Blades, and his apprentice, Gangrenous Hex, who has the spell Reanimate. He's got with him 20 skeleton soldiers, 20 skeleton spears, and 10 revenant warriors. He's been convinced, manipulated into this action by Kalana Heartwale, the level 2 elven spellcaster. She has True Flight and Fireball. Aileron Brightrest, the elven champion, is leading 9 elven spearmen. We have 5 elven archers, a further 5 elven archers, and 10 revenant linebreakers. We are on a very narrow battlefield today to represent the base of the mountain path below Deepstone Delve, so we'll see how this goes. The dwarves are deployed on the mountain path, ready to push down and drive the undead back, while the undead are at the base to draw them out. The elven and undead plan is to hold the dwarves back for as long as possible, maximising the time the elven archers have to pour arrows down upon the slow dwarves. The game's going to last for 8 turns? Yep, 8 turns sounds about right. Alright, let's get an initiative roll to start the game. It's going to the dwarves with a 9. The Goldenfield swords immediately fail their activation, and the disorganised group trundles forward. Can't expect too much from a mishmash of caravan guards and leftover soldiers, I guess. Kalana Heartwale activates, and then fails to cast True Shot on the archers next to her. Probably because she was facing the wrong direction. Moxus the Reanimator also fails to activate, perhaps unsure about trusting these elves. His indecision affects the skeletons and revenants under his control, who also fail to activate, and shamble forward slowly. Let's get it all out early. The Goldenfield Bowmen move up behind the swordsman, and the dwarf line advances to suit. Baridoc and the Hammerheart Oathsworn move forward, and Baridoc calls for Helya to let loose. Stone shot flies, and 2 skeleton spears are scattered apart. This wakes the elves and undead up to the threat, and the skeleton soldiers on the left surge forward. The elven spirits pulled from the forest eagerly press forward, and Gangrenous Hex taps into his own necromantic energies, causing one of the scattered skeletons to pull back together and rise again. The elven archers on either flank move up behind their meatless shields, but the spear elves see no need to hurry. They have centuries after all. So at the end of turn 1, both sides are closing, but what an abysmal turn for the elves and undead. 4 units failing to activate. Hopefully they sort that out quickly. So turn 2 initiative goes to the elves and the undead with an 8. The elves start by activating Kalana Heartwhale again. 3s on 2 dice, success, and she'll be casting True Flight on those archers, requiring 7s. 9, she succeeds this time. Let's get rid of those activator tokens before you confuse yourself, you twit. The dwarves start off with Helya. 3 dice within range of Baridoc's units, requiring 4s. Success with a 9. And Helya will be taking another direct shot at those skeleton spearmen. 5 dice, including the champion dice, shoot 3 on defense 9, so requiring 6s. We have... We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 there. Blimmin' heck, she's got her eye in now. No need for a morale check though, because they are undead. Next up is Gangrenous Hex once more, activating 2 dice, needing 5s. He fails to activate with 3s, so he's not going to do a whole heck of a lot then. Man, these activation rolls, far out. The Goldenfield Swords are the next to activate, 3 dice, requiring 5s. Success with a 10, and they are going to move forward, because we're going to have to get stuck in, and we'll get shot to pieces by those elves very shortly. So they'll go 6, followed by 2. Moxus is up next, activating 2 dice, requiring 5s. Success with a 6. He will be moving forward up to 6 inches. In fact, we might as well go the whole way to get really good line of sight on those skeletons before he casts Reanimate with 2 dice. Requiring 4s. Success with a 7, so we get 1 of those skeleton spearmen back. The Goldenfield Bowmen are next. 3 dice have been within range of Baridoc, requiring 5s. They succeed with a 10, and they'll be moving forward 6 inches and then shooting. So they'll be able to fire over the Goldenfield Swords and hit those skeletons who will be their closest target. So they'll get 5 dice because skeletons cannot benefit from shielding. They are shoot 3 because of ranks, but -1 for moving. So shoot 2 and defense 9, they require 7s. 1, 2, 3 hits there will result in 1 skeleton going down. Next up, we'll be activating these elf archers. 2 dice requiring 3s. They succeed with 4s, and they'll be shooting over the skeleton spearmen and into the Goldenfield Swords. So they'll get 4 dice because the Goldenfield Swords have shields. They are shoot 4 because of True Flight on defense 9, so they'll require 5s. 2 there. And the Goldenfield Swords will have to make a morale check. They'll get 3 dice within range of Baridoc. They are -2 for casualties, +1 for more than 2 ranks, and +1 for a shooting attack, so they'll require 5s. They succeed with an 8. The Wrath of Stormpeak are next. 3 dice, requiring 4s to activate. Success with a 9, and they will simply be moving forward 6 inches. The second unit of Elf Archers activate next. 2 dice, requiring 3s. Success with a 9, and they too will be shooting over the top of those skeleton soldiers and into the humans there. They'll get 4 dice because the Goldenfield Swords have shields. They are shoot 3 on defense 9, so requiring 6s. 2 hits there. 2 more of the swordsmen go down, and they require another morale check. Same as last time, 3 dice, -2 for casualties, +1 for ranks, and +1 for being a shooting attack, so requiring 5s. Easily succeed. The Stout Hearts are next in line. They'll get 3 dice to activate because Baridoc is right next to them, requiring 4s. Success with a 4. They will move forward 5 inches, and then they will be shooting over the Wrath of Stormpeak and into their closest target, which will be those skeleton soldiers. They'll get 5 dice because the skeletons cannot benefit from shielding. They are shoot 3, -1 for moving, so shoot 2 on defense 9. They'll require 7s. We have 1 2 hits there, which is enough to cause 1 casualty, which the skeletons ignore. Those skeleton soldiers will be the next to activate. 1 dice, needing 3s. Success with a 6, and they will simply be backing up 1 inch to those archers. Baridoc is the last of the dwarf units to activate. 3 dice, requiring 4s. Success, and he will be marching forward 7.5 inches, because we're going to have to get stuck in as quick as we can, or we lose too many models. The Elf Spearmen will be activating next. 2 dice, requiring 3s. Success with 9s. Much better this time. They are simply going to wheel on the front corner, like so. And then the other units that are remaining, the Skeleton Spears and the 2 Revenant units, will simply be passing. There's no need for them to advance at this stage. At the end of turn 2, Hellier let loose a mighty shot which crushed a huge horde of skeletons, though I'm sure they'll recover. And the human and dwarf archers managed to whittle away a couple more. The elf archers have begun to shoot, and they're making a big old dent in the Goldenfields swords, so hopefully the dwarves and humans can weather that storm of arrows and get into contact and shut those archers down as quickly as possible. Initiative for turn 2 is going to go to the dwarves with a 7. Hellier will be the first to activate on the dwarf turn. 2 dice, needing 4s. That was a terrible roll, but a 10 will do it. And Hellier will be shooting through the gap between the units there, and a direct fire shot against those skeleton soldiers. She'll get 5 dice, including the champion dice. She shoot 3 on defense 9, so requiring 6s. 1 there, that was a bit lackluster, but that's alright. 1 casualty is 1 casualty, and the skeletons ignore it. Kalana Hartwell will be the first to activate on the Elf and Undead turn. 2 dice, needing 3s. Success with an 8, and she'll be casting True Flight on the second unit of Elf Archers, requiring 7s on 2 dice. A 7 success. The dwarves will follow that up with the Stout Hearts, who are within 6 inches of Baridoc, so they'll get 3 dice to activate. Success with a 6. And again, they're going to shoot over the Wrath of Stormpeak and into those skeleton soldiers. They'll get 5 dice, shoot 3 on defense 9, they'll require 6s. 1, 2, 3, 4 casualties there, or 4 hits, which is enough to cause 2 casualties. But again, the undead just don't care. These elf archers will be next. 2 dice, requiring 3s. Success with a 10. And they will be shooting at the Goldenfields swords. They will get 4 dice because the Goldenfields swords have shields. They are shoot 4 because of True Flight on defense 9, so requiring 5s.
Oh, alas.
God, that was an appalling roll. Nothing there.
The sun is in my fine elven eyes.
And then they will use their second action to move back 3 inches. The Goldenfield bowmen are the next in line. They'll get 3 dice to activate for being within range of Baridoc, requiring 5s. Success with a 10, and they'll be shooting at those skeleton spearmen because they are still the closest target. So they'll get 5 dice. They are shoot 3 on defense 9, so they'll require 6s. That one's really cocked, so let's re-roll that. An 8, 7 or 8, doesn't matter. Either way, that'll cause 2 hits, which is enough to cause 1 casualty. And again, these skeletons don't care. The Goldenfield Bowman's second action will be to move up a couple of inches and keep close to the Goldenfield swords. The second unit of Elf Archers are up next. 2 dice needing 3s. Success with a 7, and they'll be shooting into the Wrath of Stormpeak, and we'll see if we can knock a rank off those guys, because they're pretty dangerous. So they'll get 5 dice. They are shoot 4 on defense 11, so they'll require 7s. Nothing. Apparently the famed Elven Archers aren't that great after all.
The sun was also in mine eyes.
In that case, they'll just back up by 3 inches to create a little bit more separation. Alright, let's activate the Wrath of Stormpeak next. They'll get 3 dice for being right next to Baridoc, requiring 4s. Success with a 6. And they will continue their slow advance. Let's activate Moxus next. 2 dice needing 5s. Success with a 7. And he'll be casting Reanimate on this unit of Skeleton Spears. 2 dice needing 4s. A 5 will do it. But he's going to need to up his game and start rolling 10s if he really wants to make a difference. And then he will back it up about there. Let's make that 3 inches, because he can only move at half speed backwards. The Goldenfield swords will be next up. 3 dice have been right next to Baridoc, requiring 5s. Success with a 9, and they're just going to continue their advance. They will be doing a full move at 6 inches. And then a second move, but they're only going to go 2. Let's activate Gangrenous Hex next. 2 dice, needing 5s. Success with a 9. And he will be casting Reanimate on that unit of Skeleton Spears. 1 dice, needing 4s. A 5 will do it. We get 1 more skeleton back. Baridoc will be the final Dwarf and Human unit activating this turn. 3 dice in 4s, success with a 9, and he will just continue his advance. So 5 inches, followed by 2.5. All that remain now are the Skeleton and Revenant units, and they will be backing up to allow the Elf Archers to continue to shoot for at least another turn. So let's start activating this one. He's fine, he can go back 3 inches. The Revenant Linebreakers needing 4s. They fail to activate, but that's alright because they're just moving back 3 inches. Next one, success. And the final unit of Skeletons, success. And let's not forget the Elf Spears, who will be passing. At the end of turn 3, shooting was lackluster for all sides involved. The Dwarves and Humans have continued to advance down the causeway, with the Undead and Elves falling back before them, to allow the Elves more time to shoot. And then what is this happening over on the flank there? Let's see what happens in turn 4.
Heads down, shields up, lads. Fill them with arrows.
Initiative for turn 4 goes to the Dwarves with an 8 and a 3. As has become tradition, Halia will be up first, 2 dice needing 4s, success with a 10, and she'll be making a direct fire shot through that gap and hitting those skeletons again. So we'll get 5 dice, including the champion dice. Being direct fire, it is shoot 3 on defense 9, so it'll require 6s. That was appalling. 1 more casualty there. Terrible. The elves will open up by activating the Elven Archers. 2 dice requiring 3s. Success with a 10. And they'll be shooting over the skeletons in front of them and into the Goldenfield swords. They'll get 4 dice because the Goldenfield swords have shields. They are shoot 4 on defense 9, so requiring 5s. 1. Good gods, what is up with these dice? 1 casualty will cause a morale check. They'll get 3 dice, have been right next to Baridoc. -1 for the casualty, but +2 from ranks and shooting attack, so they will require 4s. And they succeed with a 9. On the dwarf turn, the Stout Hearts will be activating 2 dice requiring 4s, success with a 6, and they will be advancing 5 inches further down the causeway, which gets them within 3 inches of the Wrath of Stormpeak and allows them to fire over into the closest unit, those skeleton soldiers. So they'll get 5 dice. They are shoot 2 because they have a rank and they're moved. On defense 9, so they'll require 7s. Nothing there. Never mind that. Let's return fire with these elf archers. They'll activate 2 dice needing 3s. Success with a 3. These dice are just rubbish. Alright, 5 dice to shoot the Wrath of Stormpeak. We might as well try and take a rank off them. They are shoot 4 on defense 11, so requiring 7s. We have a 10 there, which is enough to cause a casualty. But again, terrible, terrible rolls. That'll cause a morale check. They'll get -1 for casualty, +1 for a shooting attack, and +1 for more than 2 ranks, and 3 dice will be next to Baridoc, so requiring 3s. A 3 they succeed, though that was a very close thing. Let's activate the Goldenfield Bowman next. 2 dice requiring 5s. Success with 10s. And they will be advancing forward up to 6 inches to get them within 3 just of the Goldenfield swords. They will be shooting at their closest target, which we'll have to figure out what that is. They are about 13.5 from those skeleton spearmen, and they are 12.5 from those elf spearmen. So we'll be shooting the elf spearmen. They'll get 4 dice because the elf spearmen have shields. They are shoot 3, -1 for moving, so shoot 2 on defense 9. They will require 7s. There are 2 hits there. That's pretty much the best shooting all day. So morale check from the elves. They'll get -2 for casualties, +1 for a shooting attack, so they'll require 4s on 2 dice. And they succeed with an 8. Kalana Hartwell will be the next to activate. 2 dice needing 3s. Success with a 6. She will turn... She doesn't even have to turn, I don't think. I'll give her that shot on the flank. She will cast Fireball onto the Goldenfield swords. 2 dice requiring 7s to cast. An 8 is a success. So she'll make a 3 dice. Shoot 4 attack against them. So down to 2 dice because they have shields. Shoot 4 on defense 9 requiring 5s. 2 hits there. And a morale check for the Goldenfield swords. They'll get 3 dice for being right next to Baridoc. -2 for casualties, +1 for a shooting attack, +1 for more than 2 ranks, so requiring 5s. A success with a 5. The Wrath of Stormpeak will be the next to activate. 3 dice for being right next to Baridoc, requiring 4s. They succeed with a 6, and they'll just continue trundling forward, doing their best to survive this elvish archery. Moxus will be activating 2 dice needing 5s. Success with a 10. And he'll be casting Reanimate on that unit of skeletons. 2 dice needing 4s. That is a success, so they get 1 more skeleton back, and they've completed that rank. Baridoc and the Hammerheart Oathsworn are the next in line. Activating 3 dice requiring 4s. Success with a 7, and that's 10, 4 or 10, either way. They will be advancing 5 inches. And they are currently out of range to charge, so they'll just wait there and not get too far ahead of everybody else. Let's take advantage of this on the undead side, so we'll activate these skeletons, 1 dice, needing a 3. That'll succeed with a 3, and they will be wheeling on the front corner there, and then hitting Baridoc on the flank. Because why not? Alright, so the skeletons have hit Baridoc's unit in the flank. I would like to use Shield Wall, but it seems a bit dodgy doing that on a flank attack, so we'll not.
What's your shield side, Hargren?
We'll have the whole unit fight. The skeletons attacking first are fight 1, 2, 3, and 4 for the flank. So fight 4 on defense 10. They'll require 6s. There's 2 there.
Harder!
Could have been worse.
Is that all you've got?
And the dwarves will fight back. They get 3 dice, including the champion dice.
I'm not sure which is skinnier.
They are fight
Skeletons
2
or the
because they don't
elves?
get any rank bonus. On defense 9, so requiring 7s. I don't think. Let's check that. Correct. No flank bonus. No rank bonus on the flank. So they're fight 2 against defense 9, requiring 7s or 6s on the champion dice because of the Sword of Star Silver.
In your skull.
Nothing there. Great. Alright. They do have a reroll available, but it's totally not worth it. So, we'll get rid of that. A morale check for the Hamheart Oathsworn. They'll get 3 dice. They're at -2 for casualties, but +1 for having more than 2 ranks, so they'll need 5s. A success there with a 6. And the skeletons really can't push them too far, so we're just going to push them an inch. The Goldenfields swords are up next. They are still within 6 inches of Baridoc's unit. So they get 3 dice to activate, requiring 5s. Success with a 10. And they'll be hitting the flank of that unit of skeletons. There's no room for the dice tray, so we'll just have to hold it. The humans are fight 2, +1 for a rank and +1 for flanking, so fight 4. With 5 dice on defense 9 of the skeletons means they'll cause wounds on 5s.
Get into it, lads.
Let's get that in the tray and not in the elf spearman.
Stormpeak!
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 casualties there. That's really good. So we'll take the whole back rank off there, and the skeletons will fight back. They have 3 ranks, so they get 3 dice.
Oh, protect
They
me!
are fight 1. Fight 1 and -1 for having already activated, which I did figure out on the dwarves, but it made no difference. So they are fight 0 on defense 9. They'll require 9s. No luck there. Alright. No morale check required though. These skeletons suffered 5 casualties. So we'll halve that and they'll take 2 more as part of the uncaring rule. And the Goldenfield swords are going to push the skeletons back by 6 inches. What a mess. That's all of the dwarf and human units done, so we're on to the undead now. And we're going to try and get this unit to hit Baridocs. So we'll activate them first, 2 dice needing 4s. They succeed with a 6. And we'll try and hit the Hammerheart Oathsworn in the front. Let's try and manoeuvre them through that gap. After a bit of faffing around, unfortunately for the undead, the skeletons have hemmed the revenants in. By wheeling past one, the other is in the way of a forward move, so we're kind of stuck here. This unit of skeletons is just going to pass. There's no need for them to get tied up with dwarf line breakers just yet. This unit of revenant line breakers will attempt to activate them. Success with a 10 and push them around all over the show. They're going to shuffle sideways a bit and then move up a little. And finally, we'll see if these elf spearmen can get stuck in. I think they're in range, but we'll find out when we actually move them. So, 2 dice needing 3s to activate. They succeed with a 9. And if they move straight forward 6 inches is their first action, followed by a further 3, they'll contact the corner of the unit of humans there. They started in the front arc, so that's going to be a frontal charge. And we'll line them up there. The elves will get the champion dice and 3 others, because I think the Goldenfield swords are going to shield in this case. So they get 4 dice. They are fight 4. Correction, they are fight 3. Fight 3 on defense 9 means they'll require 6s.
Think to match swords with an elf?
1, 2 there.
Insignificant mayflies.
And they'll fight back. They'll get 4 dice. They are fight 2, +1 for a rank, and -1 for having already activated. So fight 2 on defense 9, they'll need 7s.
Oscar, give me strength!
1, 2, flippin' heck. 1, 2, 3. So both sides will need to make morale checks. We'll start with the Goldenfields swords. They'll get 3 dice because Baridoc is right next to them. They get -2 for casualties and +1 for having more than 2 ranks. So they'll need 6s. They fail, so they become disordered. And the elves will need to make a check. The elves get 2 dice. They receive -3 for casualties. So they require 6s. They succeed with a 7. And the Goldenfield swords are just going to push the elves back by 1 inch. Finally, we have Gangrenous Hex to activate. 2 dice requiring 5s. Success with a 10. And he will be using his first action to shuffle sideways up to 3 inches. He's still not going to be able to see there, so maybe he won't. Maybe he will go 3 inches this way instead. Which will get him to there, where he can see those skeleton spears, and he's going to cast Reanimate on them. 1 dice requiring 4s. Success with an 8, so 1 more skeleton spear rises up again. At the end of turn 4, the lines have clashed at last. After some initial success with the flanking skeletons, things fell apart for the elves and undead, as the Goldenfield swords fought like lions. Those elven archers really need to pick up their game before the skeletons in front of them evaporate, or I fear the elves will have no chance. Alright, initiative on turn 5 has a potential to be interesting. It goes to the Dwarves with an 8, but the elves get a double 6. Let's find out what that does. Double 6s is Hornet Nest, which means we get to disorder one of the dwarf or human units. And I think we're going to disorder the Wrath of Stormpeak, because they are a very valuable unit. We can avoid having combat with them this turn, that'll be just great. So, on the Dwarf turn, because they still won initiative, they'll be activating the Wrath of Stormpeak first, because we don't want to risk losing that very valuable unit. So they'll get 3 dice to activate, requiring 5s. An 8 is a success, so we remove that disordered token, but we cannot move into contact this turn, which is a bit of a bummer, not going to lie. But they will just wander forward to within an inch of those skeletons. It's the elves and undead next. We'll be activating that unit of elf spears to see if we can remove the human soldiers there. So they need 2 dice, requiring 3s. You're not... can't be serious. Double 2s, they don't get to activate this turn, which is really lucky for the humans and dwarves. So they're just going to have to sit there. In that case, on the human and dwarf turn, we will activate the Goldenfield swords and see if we can remove that disordered token. So 3 dice requiring 6s. A 7 there is a success, so they're no longer disordered, but they can only make a simple action and they can't move into contact. So what we're going to do is we're just going to wander sideways a little bit, I think, up to 3 inches, which is just going to help block line of sight to anything a little bit more valuable down the back. Alright, let's activate Kalana Heartwhale on the elf turn. 2 dice requiring 3s. A 10 is a success, and she'll be casting Fireball at that unit of human soldiers, the Goldenfield swords. So 2 dice requiring 7s. A 9 is a success, so it's a 3 dice attack. It's shoot 4 down to 2 because of shielding. Shoot 4 on defense 9 requiring 5s. And that's 2 more casualties. So, a morale check from the Goldenfield swords. 3 dice have been next to Baridoc. -2 for casualties, +1 because it was a shooting attack. Requiring 6s. A 10 is a success. The Dwarves will activate Hellier. 2 dice needing 4s. Success with a 6. And Hellier will be taking a shot at... It'll be an indirect shot, but it'll be into the flank of that unit of smaller skeletons, because we may as well take advantage of that shot while we can. So we get the champion dice base. We get 2 dice for the number of ranks in the unit, and we get an additional 2 because it is a shot in the flank or rear. So 5 dice. Shoot 2, 3 normally, -1 because it's an indirect shot. Shoot 2 on defense 9, requiring 7s. 1-2 there. And no need for a morale check because they are undead. On the elf and undead turn, we'll activate this unit of elf archers, and they'll continue to hammer that unit of Goldenfield swords. So they get 4 dice because the Goldenfield swords have shields. They are shoot 4 on defense 9, so they require 5s. 1-2 more casualties. And another morale check. They receive -2 for casualties, +1 for a shooting attack, so they require 6s on 3 dice. With a 10, they succeed. On the human and dwarf turn, we'll activate these stout hearts. 2 dice requiring 4s in the tray, and 8 is a success, and they'll be shooting at their closest target, which are the elf spearmen here. So they'll get 4 dice because the elf spearmen have shields. They are shoot 3 because of an extra rank on defense 9, so they'll require 6s. We have 1, 2, 3 there. And the elves will need to make a check. They are at -4 for casualties and been less than a full rank, but +1 for a shooting attack, so they'll require 6s on 2 dice. 7, they're fine. And then the stout hearts will wheel on this front corner, just like so. Next up on the elf and undead turn, we're going to activate these elven archers, 2 dice needing 3s. They succeed with an 8, and they will be shooting over the skeleton soldier in front of them and into the Wrath of Stormpeak. So they'll get 5 dice, because there are no shields there. They are shoot 4. Shoot 4 on defense 11, they'll require 7s. 1-2 casualties there. And the dwarves will make a morale check. They are -2 for casualties, +1 for a shooting attack, and +1 for more than 2 ranks, so they require 4s on 3 dice. They succeed with a 4. That was close though. On the dwarf and human turn, it is the Goldenfield bowmen who are up next. They'll activate 2 dice, requiring 5s. Success with a 9. And they are too far away to shoot over the Goldenfield swords, so they're going to wheel on the front corner until they are within 3 inches, and then they will fire over and into their closest target, that unit of elf spears. So they will get 4 dice, 5 -1 because the elves have shields. They are shoot 3, -1 for moving, so shoot 2 on defense 9, they'll require 7s. 1, 2, 3 there, which is enough to wipe out that unit, including the champion. On the elf and undead turn, we'll activate Moxus. 2 dice, requiring 5s. Success with a 9, and he'll be casting Reanimate on those skeleton spears. 2 dice, requiring 4s. Success with a 7. So there's 1 skeleton back. The final dwarf unit to activate is Baridoc and the Hammerheart Oathsworn. 3 dice, requiring 4s. Success with a 5. Geez, that was a close run thing though. 1s and 2s. And we're going to give those skeletons a bit of their own medicine. We're going to move 2.5 inches sideways as our first action. And then 2.5 forward will get us into contact with the flank of that unit of skeleton spearmen. Alright, so we'll get 5 dice, including the champion dice. We are fight 2, +1 for a rank and +1 for flanking, so fight 4 on defense 9. We'll require 5s or 4s on the Sword of Star Silver. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 casualties there.
Kill the bastards!
And the skeletons will fight back. They'll get 1 dice because they had 1 full rank. They are fight 1 on defense 10, so they'll require 9s. No luck there. Alright, the skeletons suffered 5 casualties and have a further -1 for being less than a full rank. So we'll halve that. That'll give us 3 more. So the last 3 go down due to uncaring. Back to the elves and undead. Let's activate these revenants. 2 dice requiring 4s. Success with a 6. And what they will do is they'll pivot on the officer. Something like that. And then they'll hit the flank of the Hammerheart Oathsworn.
There's more to
Alright, so those Revenants will get 5 dice. Baridoc will be fighting alone. The Revenants get 5 dice. They are fight 2, +1 for rank and +1 for flanking. So fight 4 on defense 11 means they'll require 7s. 1, 2 there. And Baridoc will be fighting back alone. So he gets 2 dice. He is fight 3, -1 for activating. So fight 2 on defense 10 means he'll require 8 or 7 on the Sword of Star Silver. 1 8 there is enough for 1 casualty. But the Revenants have won that fight. We'll do a morale check for the Dwarves. They are at -2 for casualties, but +1 for having more than 2 ranks, so they make a check needing 5s. A 10 will succeed. And the Revenants lost 1 model, but that's not enough to cause any more due to uncaring. And we'll choose to push the Dwarves. Actually, I think we're going to move the Revenants themselves back 1 inch. There are no more Dwarf or human units left, so we'll activate these Revenant Line Breakers next. 2 dice, requiring 4s. Success with an 8. They will wheel on the back corner. And then they can move up to 6 inches forward, which will get them into contact with the front of the Hammerheart Oathsworn. Now is a good time for Baridoc to use his heroic trait Shield Wall to add +2 to the defense of the unit, so they'll be defense 12. And I think they'll choose to shield as well, because otherwise this will hurt a lot. The Revenants have 4 dice. They are fight 3, +1 for a rank, fight 4. On defense 12 means they'll need 8s. 1 2 there. The Dwarves will fight back. They get 4 dice, including the champion dice. They are fight 2, +1 for having extra rank, fight 3, but -1 for activating. So fight 2 on defense 10, they'll require 8s or 7s on the with the Sword of Star Silver. 1 there. So again, the Revenants have won that fight. Alright, so the Hammerheart Oathsworn will have to make a morale check. They are at -2 for casualties, so they'll require 6s on 3 dice. With an 8, they're fine. And once again, 1 casualty is not enough to cause any more problems to the Revenants due to uncaring. We quite like where the Hammerheart Oathsworn are right there. So I think we're just going to back off an inch. Gangrenous Hex will be the next unit to activate on the Undead and Elf side. 2 dice needing 5s. He succeeds with a 5. And he will be casting Reanimate on this unit of skeleton soldiers. 1 dice needing 4s. Success with a 10, which restores 2 skeleton soldiers. And the final unit on the Dwarf and Undead side are those skeleton soldiers. They will be passing, because there's no point in getting stuck into Dwarven line breakers when you're merely a skeleton blocking unit. The end of turn 5. Things have not gone well for the elves and their undead puppets. Their right flank was punished. They have begun wearing the Hammerheart Oathsworn down, but their dice are going to have to step it up significantly if they're going to have any chance of clawing this back. Initiative for turn 6. That is all kinds of cocked. Is going to go to the Dwarves with a 10 and a 5. Hellier will of course be the first to activate. 2 dice needing 4s. Success with a 6. And Hellier will be making a direct fire shot into the juicy flank of those Revenant warriors. So Hellier gets the champion dice base, 2 for ranks, and 2 for the flank or rear shot. Shoot 3 because it's a direct fire shot into defense 10 means we require 7s. 1, 2, 3 casualties there, double from the champion dice, but no morale check required because they are undead. The elves will activate the archers next, and they will be attempting to shoot into the Wrath of Stormpeak. So they'll need 2 dice to activate, requiring 3s. Success with a 7, and they'll get 5 dice to attack. Shoot 4 on defense 11, requiring 7s. Just the one. These guys have been lackluster all game. So 1 goes down and they'll make a morale check. They are within 6 inches of Baridoc's unit, so they'll still get 3 dice. They get -1 for the casualty, +1 for more than 2 ranks, and +1 because it was a shooting attack, so requiring 3s on 3 dice. And no worries at all. In that case, on the Dwarf and Human turn, we'll activate the Wrath of Stormpeak. 3 dice, requiring 4s. Success with an 8. And they're just going to move straight forward and into those skeleton soldiers who they've been wanting to get at all game. So they'll get 5 dice, including the champion dice, because Forgrin is leading the unit. They are fight 3 +2 for rank, so fight 5. Fight 5 on defense 9, they require 4s. Ow! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Gripes. Where's that rolling been the rest of the game? Alright, the skeletons get to fight back. They get 5 dice. They are fight 1 +3 for ranks. So fight 4 on defense 11, they'll require 7s. And nothing there. I'm pretty sure it's these white dice. So the Dwarves definitely won that. 9 casualties, halved, means the skeletons take 4 more as part of the uncaring rule. Cripes! That unit just disappeared. And the Dwarves will push the skeletons back 6 inches. On the Elf and Undead turn, we'll activate these Revenant Warriors. 2 dice, requiring 4s. Success with a 7, and they're just going to slam straight on into Baridoc's unit. Baridoc will be fighting alone. So the Revenants will get 5 dice. They are fight 2, +1 for the flank, fight 3. On defense 11 means they'll require 8s. 1 there, 1 more dwarf goes down, and Baridoc will fight back. He gets 2 dice, including the champion dice. He is fight 3 on defense 10, so requiring 7s.
Oathmark!
And a 6 on the champion dice because of the Sword of Star Silver, so that's 3.
Suffering.
That's right, isn't it? Fight 3, defense 10, requiring 7s and +1, yep, that's right. Okay, so the Dwarves make a morale check. They get -1 because of casualties, so they require 5s. Success with a 10. And the Revenants, they lost 3 models and an additional -1 for having less than a full rank. Halve that, and 2 more go down due to the uncaring rule. These dice are unbelievably one-sided today. The Dwarves are just going to push those that Revenant back by 1 inch. On the Dwarf and Human turn, we'll activate the Goldenfields swords. 3 dice because they're within range of Baridoc, needing 5s. Success with a 7. They will be pivoting on the officer and then advancing 6 inches. On the Elf and Revenant turn, we'll activate those Revenant line breakers. 2 dice requiring 4s. Success with an 8, and they will be slamming right into the Hammerheart Oathsworn. The Hammerheart Oathsworn will shield because I think they'll be mad not to.
Axes out, lads!
The line breakers will get 4 dice. They are fight 3. Fight 3 on defense 10. They'll require 7s. 1, 2, 3 there. That's more like it. And the Dwarves will fight back. They get 4 dice, including the champion dice. They are fight 2, -1 having already activated, so fight 1 on defense 10. They'll require 9s or 8s on the champion dice. 1 9 there, so 1 more Revenant falls. But the Revenants definitely won that fight. So let's do a morale check for the Dwarves. They'll get 3 dice. They're at -3 for casualties, so they're going to require 7s. A 10, they succeed, no worries at all. The Revenants lose no additional models because they only have a -1 modifier. And they're going to push the Dwarves back. I think if we go 6 inches, it'll be too far, so we're just going to push them back 1. I think that's the first time something's gone the Elf and Undead way. It's been a rough game for them. These Stout Hearts will be the next to activate. 2 dice, requiring 4s. They succeed with a 10, and if they shoot their closest target, then they're shooting this final Revenant Warrior. So they'll get 5 dice because the Revenant cannot benefit from shielding. They are shoot 3 on defense 10, so they'll require 7s. 1, 2, 3 hits there, which is more than enough to kill a single Revenant, so that unit goes down. And then these Stout Hearts will advance. Let's move forward 5 inches. The Elf Archers will be the next to activate. 2 dice, needing 3s. They succeed with a 10, and they'll be shooting at the unit of humans there because they are the easiest to kill, hopefully. We'll see. 4 dice because the Goldenfields swords have shields. They are shoot 4 on defense 9, so they'll require 5s. 1, 2, 3. Ooh, well shot. So that'll require a morale check. They'll receive -3 for casualties, -1 for being less than a full rank, but +1 for a shooting attack. So they're going to require 8s on 3 dice. They're not going to do it. They will be disordered with a 7. Strange as it seems, that may have benefited the Dwarves and humans. Let's activate the Goldenfield Bowmen. 2 dice, requiring 5s. Success with an 8, and they will be shooting through this gap at that unit of archers, who are the closest target that they can see. They can see from the officer more than half of the unit there, so let's take some shots. They'll get 5 dice. They are shoot 3 on defense 9, so requiring 6s. 1, 2. And the elves will make a morale check. They are -2 for casualties and -1 for being less than a full rank, but +1 for a shooting attack. So -2, they'll require 5s. A 9, they're fine. Only the Elves and Undead have any units left to activate, and the Elves and Undead have all 3 spellcasters. So let's start with Kalana Heartwhale. She'll activate, 2 dice needing 3s, success, and she'll be casting Fireball on that unit of disordered Goldenfield swords. 2 dice requiring 7s. 8 successfully casts it. So she'll get 2 dice for this 3 dice attack at shoot 4 because of shields. Shoot 4 on defense 5. Correction, shoot 4 on defense 9, she'll require 5s. A single 7 there is enough to cause a casualty. And a morale check. So, -1 for casualty, -1 for being disordered, -1 for being less than a full rank, but +1 because it's a shooting attack, means they'll require 7s on 3 dice to stick around. A 3, a 1, a 1, they are not going to do it. So, let's check for Cascading Panic. We've got the Hammerheart Oathsworn who are affected, and 8 inches will just get them in range of the Goldenfield Bowmen off to the side there. So, let's do some more morale checks. The Hammerheart Oathsworn will require 4s on 3 dice. They succeed with a 7. And the Goldenfield Bowmen will require 5s on 2 dice. With an 8, they're fine, but the Goldenfield Swords have had enough. I don't blame them, they've had a rough time of it. Next up, we will activate Moxus the Reanimator. 2 dice, requiring 5s. Success with an 8, and he'll be casting Poison Blades on this unit of Revenant Linebreakers. 2 dice, requiring 5s. With a 4, he fails to cast it, unfortunately. And finally, we have Gangrenous Hex. He'll activate, 2 dice, needing 5s. Success with an 8, and he'll be pivoting on the spot. And he'll be casting Reanimate on the units of skeleton soldiers here, because that's his job and that's what he does. So, 1 dice requiring 4+, success with a 5, 1 more skeleton soldier is raised. Here at the end of turn 6, is that the turn of the tide? I don't think so. I think the Elves and Undead are in a bit of trouble here. But I think we'll give it one more turn just to see if they can knock out Baridoc. Otherwise, I don't think they have much of a chance, unfortunately. Initiative for turn 7 goes to the Elves with a 10. Let's start with these Revenant Linebreakers. 2 dice requiring 4s. Success. They're going to slam straight back into Baridoc and the Hammerheart Oathsworn. Baridoc will be shielding, so they'll get 4 dice on the attack. They are fight 3 on defense 10, so they're going to require 7s. 1 7 there. One more dwarf goes down. And the dwarves fight back. They receive the champion dice and 3 others because they shielded. They are fight 2 on defense 10, so they require 8s or 7s on the champion dice because of the Sword of Star Silver.
Please. Hard to be please.
1 8 there is enough to cause 1 casualty, so the combat becomes even. We need a morale check from the dwarves. -1 for a casualty and -1 for being less than a full rank, so they will require 6s. They succeed with a 10. And the Revenants didn't suffer enough damage to lose any more due to the uncaring rule. The fight, however, was a draw, so both sides move back by 1 inch. On the Dwarf and Human turn, we'll activate the Goldenfield Bowman next. 2 dice requiring 5s. Success with a 9, and they'll be shooting the closest target they can see, which are those Elf Archers once more. So they'll get 5 dice. Shoot 3 on defense 9, they'll require 6s. We have 1 2 casualties there. And the elves are making a morale check. Well, the elf. He gets -2 for casualties, a further -1 for being less than a full rank, +1 for shooting, so a check, -2, requiring 5s. They are fine with a 6. Let's do these elf archers next. 2 dice to activate, requiring 3s. Success with a 10, and they'll be shooting over those skeletons in front and into the Hammerheart Oathsworn, who they can just see around that unit of linebreakers. So they'll get 4 dice on the attack because the Hammerheart Oathsworn have shields. They are shoot 4 on defense 10, so requiring 6s. 1 2 3 4 there. Ouch! So Baridoc will be required to make a check. He'll get 3 dice because he's special like that. -3 for casualties, a further -1 for being less than a full rank, but +1 because it's a shooting attack, so requiring 7s on 3 dice. An 8, he succeeds, he's not worried. This is a situation he's found himself in before. On the dwarf turn, we'll be activating the Wrath of Stormpeak. Are they still in range of Baridoc? They are not, so they'll get 2 dice to start with, requiring 4s. Success with a 10. They will be wheeling on the back corner and then moving into the flank of those Revenant Linebreakers. The Linebreakers will get 5 dice, including the champion dice, because Forgrin is leading the units. They are fight 3, +2 for ranks, and +1 for being in the flank. So fight 6 on defense 10, they'll require 4s.
Kill the bastards!
Come on, Forgrin. We have 1 2 3 4 5 casualties there. And the Revenants will fight back with 1 dice. They are fight 3, -1 having already activated, so fight 2 on defense 11, requiring 9s. A 7 won't cut it. The Revenants suffer a -5 for casualties, a further -1 for being less than a full rank. So with the uncaring rule, that means they take 3 additional casualties and the unit is wiped out. The elves and the necromancers realise this is over, but before they go, they're going to give Baridoc a final parting shot. So we'll activate Kalana Heartwhale, 2 dice requiring 3s. Success with a 4, and she'll be casting Fireball at Baridoc. 2 dice requiring 7s. A 7, it successfully casts. He does get shielding, so a 3 dice attack goes down to 2. It's shoot 4 on defense 11, so requiring 7s. And nothing. Phew. Alright, and with that, the elves and the necromancers will turn tail and flee. And victory will go to the Dwarves. So let's make a couple of rolls to see what happens to those units that were lost during the fighting. We're rolling on the destroyed units with Battle Honours table in Battle Sworn. So let's start with the Hammerheart Oathsworn. They had one model of the unit left remaining, so they'll add +1 to their roll. With a 7, they just suffered light casualties. They'll be ready to go next time. And the Goldenfields Swords will make a roll with no modifier. A 9, they are also light casualties and ready to go for the next battle. That was rough on the Elves and the Undead. They had loads more activations than the Dwarves, so they were able to dictate the battle pretty well. But the dice were just god-awful. I think their plan, again, was very sound, but they just could not execute it. Missing that hit on the Wrath of Stormpeak was probably the biggest mistake of the campaign, and it would have resulted in a failed morale check had I caught it. But alas, I did not. I don't think it would have made a big difference to the outcome though. The skeletons would have lasted another turn, and Baridoc may have fallen to the Revenant Linebreakers had there been another turn, and had the Elven Archers still shot at the Hammerheart Oathsworn. But I think ultimately the poor performance from the Elves at the beginning of the game meant it was a foregone conclusion. And I mean, I never would have known if I hadn't been recording these games, so there is always that too. But that wraps up this chapter of the story. Unprepared for a siege, and witnessing the destruction of the Elves and Undead from the ramparts, Vorgak, the Orc Prince, quickly concedes to Baridoc's terms. He and the Orcs within Stormpeak Hold agree to lay down their arms and swear sacred oaths to Baridoc. They are escorted from the mountain with their lives, sworn never to return. Herc, the granite-hide troll, remains within the halls of Deepstone Delve. More confused than malevolent, he is initially avoided by the Dwarves, before being befriended, mostly through good food. The Dwarven revenants return to their rest within the catacombs, ready to awaken should the mountain be threatened. And those Dwarves who fell along the journey are laid beside them with honour. Baridoc Kingson is crowned Baridoc King, Lord of the Stormpeak clan, King of the Silver Mountains. Long may his beard grow, just may his rule be, and full may his tankard remain. Edmund the Ox becomes a legend in the surrounding area, and many young men flock to Goldenfields to learn from the champion. The town swiftly expands as security and opportunity grow. Thorgrin Shieldsplitter is consumed by guilt. Why should he live whilst other, better dwarves fall on his watch? Struggling with his burden and unable to find solace, he leaves the Silver Mountain and heads into the wilderness, alone, seeking absolution. He's last seen striking out northward. Kalana Heartwale returns to the silver towers of Tor Kelora in disgrace. Clearly, someone more competent should have been given this task. Gralk, the goblin leader, continues his rampage to the east, raiding and pillaging as he goes. Content to slaughter and steal, the Blackstone tribe slowly becomes a horde. Moxus, the Reanimator, slinks back to his hidden barrow lair, plotting and scheming, consumed by thoughts of revenge. So, lots of options there. I've got a mini campaign prepped that'll be up shortly, but let me know which of those story threads that are still hanging out there appeal to you guys the most. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I do hope that you enjoyed the video, and we shall see you next time. Cheers.